Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Lab Podcast. Today it is me, Cody, and Kel here to talk
Hello,
about
hello.
some current events and alcohol. So, anyways, before we dive into all that, how you doing, Kel?
I'm doing pretty good. Kind of just battling through. It's we entered week 10 of prep. We're gonna get into single digit weeks next week, which is
Mm,
exciting.
yeah.
But definitely starting to feel a little bit more tired. So that's definitely kicked in. Um, but yeah, kind of just getting through, getting all my stuff done every day. And it's kind of a Groundhog Day over here for a little bit. Oh,
yeah.
I did forget about the puppy though, and that is the different
Oh, can't. Yes, let's hear about the puppy, please.
thing. So we got a new puppy. It is my fiance's sister's dog who had puppies. And she's a very good girl, border collie mix. Um, don't know a ton about the father, but we think she's going to be pretty big because her paws are massive. So we'll see.
Well, that's
She's
fun. It's
a
a
cute
very
monster right now.
yeah, it's a very energetic mix. So, good luck with that.
Yeah. Yeah, Maddie's gonna take on the brunt of the puppy bearing, just because I'm prepping.
Yeah, because they
And
are
I'm
like,
already tired.
yeah, they're like babies at this point.
Yes.
So it's almost like you're sleep deprived. You're raising a baby essentially. You're
Yeah.
just trying not to get
Well,
them to
that's what
piss on
like
the floor.
exactly. I don't think we've slept a full night since we got her on Saturday, so it's
Oh
been
man.
fun. But I can sleep through anything. It's Maddie who wakes up.
You're like, well,
Oops.
that's on you. You woke up.
I didn't know. I couldn't hear it. But
Well,
let's.
to be fair, I'd prefer you slept. So,
Yeah, and she wakes me up if it's my turn or whatever. But for the most part, um, we're getting through. We're getting through. It's getting better and better each night, I think. So, what's new with
that's
you?
good.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. Nothing too crazy new. I mean, I've got did I talk about surgery coming up August
Oh
5th?
yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm trying to like officially commit to it. 'Cause sometimes I think I've scheduled this surgery multiple times before and I just cancel it. So I'm like, maybe if I say it, like I won't cancel it. But I just can't think of, there's never going to be a good time. I keep like putting
Yeah,
it off because I don't want to take a break. But, there's been some people I think who have had this surgery and has said it was helpful. So I'm no longer just like the guinea pig having the surgery. So I feel better about that.
yeah.
Before I was like kind of guinea pig. And he said recovery is only going to be like 3 weeks for it to heal. I'll be able to kind of get back into things at 4 and then kind of ramp up from there. So, talk to my coach and a little bit more peace of mind when you have a game plan and he just doesn't think it's that big of a deal. And, he's just like, if anything, it'll help, give your body some rest, heal up some other little, you know, nagging injuries and
Pains.
come back feeling rested and hopefully just get right back into it and not have too much of a disruption. So it's like he's not worried about it. I'm not competing this year. So I can't really think of a better time. I mean, it's never a good time. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Just get it over with. Bite the bullet. But
Exactly.
have you talked to on the lab about it before? Do you want to tell the viewers what you're getting done?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think I have. So I'm always forget like what I've said where because I'm like I've talked about this situation like at nauseum in other platforms and then like none at others and people are always so confused. But yeah, so phalloplasty. I had RFF phalloplasty 7 years ago, which is crazy.
That is
And
nuts.
yeah, so they take a graft from your arm. I don't know how well. Oh, the camera's over here. So I have like this skin graft, and it's not swollen right now, but usually, it is. It's like puffy red, especially when I'm lifting. And so, okay, camera, let's come back over here to the face. But let's see if we can focus here. Are we coming back? No. See, that's what happens when you move around too much. It wants to
It's like,
focus
no, I
on
got used to the other one.
Come on. Sorry, guys. This is disturbing. Thank you.
There it goes.
um. So yeah. Anyways, all right. For real. For real.
No.
Still kind of. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. We're back. Anyway, so getting the graft cuts off my circulation. Essentially, it acts like a tourniquet. It's adhered to my muscle really tightly. I've had some little things like fat grafting to try to get it loosen up, and it just doesn't work. It just dissolves. It's weird. You have fat grafted. That's why like liposuction and shit is just it's not worth it, guys. It grows back. It grows back. It comes back.
Yeah.
Or it disappears.
It
If you put
does.
fat in your ass, yeah, put fat in your ass, it's gonna migrate back to where it came from. So don't do that. But so I've had fail attempts of it, being successful, but now he's got a new game plan. So essentially he's gonna take like 2 strips of graft off of where like the little bridge is. I don't want to like raise my arm right here. He's gonna put 2 new strips of graft, so he'll have to take new grafts probably for my other leg this time, which is fun. Yay, more scars. And then put that on there, but he's gonna like release it first. So give it like it's essentially like shrink wrapped to my arm. So if he releases it, it'll like pull back, kind of shrink, and then he'll put the new strips in. So it gives my arm like more, wiggle room, if that makes sense. So let my forearm expand, and then he'll put the new grafts in. It makes sense in my head, but I don't know if anyone else got any sense of that. But so it'll be like a
sense.
3-week recovery, and as far as getting the heel, but it's so tight on my arm that it's essentially induced blood flow restriction training on my left arm. So my left arm is actually bigger than my right arm, and it's stronger than my right arm, which is not usual because usually your dominant hand is stronger. So I'm going to just look at it as a way, if I can't train my left, I will probably still train my right because it does have some catching up to do. So I'm not going to be out of the gym completely. I only have like one good knee, and that's arguable, but like I can't do leg day every day, but I'm going to switch off between legs and my one arm probably. So just to try to keep things. And there's studies that show if you have an injury on whatever side and you work the other side, there's less muscle loss on the limb that's actually injured. So I'm just going to do all the things I can to prevent as much muscle loss as possible. So that's the biggest thing. It's been always a stressor, but I'm just going to try to get it over with.
Yeah, absolutely. But once, hopefully by the fall, you'll be back in kind of rocking and rolling. So
yeah. So hopefully I can just put it behind me and keep building. And I'm not sure when I'll be competing again, but in my head, I would like to say November 2025. If all goes well, maybe I can, qualify for nationals again at the same show, and either go to that one show next week that I didn't previously, or some other, national show at some point in 2025. But it all just depends on progress. That's the part about bodybuilding. There's not a whole lot of certainty. It's just a lot of Groundhog's Day, kind of like you are in prep, but in off season, just a different type of Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. I find a lot of comfort in the routine of it all. So I think it's kind of grounding for me. But
Same.
I know,
Yeah.
we won't get into
Yeah.
it.
Like regardless of prep, I'm always doing the same thing every day. That's why I always say, I'm like, I don't know if we're good at bodybuilding or if like we're just good at bodybuilding because we are so rigid. We fit into bodybuilding. We don't make bodybuilding fit into our lives.
Yeah, this is just the path of least resistance. But
like,
we can have this as another topic.
We could. There's a reason we are the way we are.
I'm writing it down on the list.
Let's talk about why. Yeah. But anyways, that's about all new in my life. Probably more than people bargained to hear about. So, you got the puppy. You're in prep, and I'm having surgery.
Yep. And living life, but and staying strong. So, do we want to get to the ear heard round the world?
Yes. So, if people aren't aware, how you couldn't be. But former President Trump survived an assassination attempt, which was all around the news this last weekend. And I feel like there's a lot of obviously the internet is a shit show for lots of arguing, lots more divide and finger pointing. I feel like that's usually when something happens like this, it's let's investigate to find out who we can blame, like which side is to blame. And of course it happened to Donald Trump. So who do you think they're going to blame? And that's the part I always kind of cringe at, because it's not necessarily like the event itself, it's the fallout, and being like, guess who they're going to blame. I already saw people blaming the alphabet mafia, as they like to call it, and it's just like, for real, like, you think any of us have guns? Like, come on.
Well, and it's kind of funny because, well, not funny, like the last assassination attempt that was made on a president was, I think, Nixon, if I remember correctly, and the person who did that was trying to impress Jodie Foster. Like, it was like a weird celebrity stalker. So like, you never like, and so it could be something that's not even like related to anything in reality. We don't ever know. But I hate that it's in the news because I hate Donald Trump. So that sucks. But yes, it is what it is. I was actually out of cell service for the whole day. So I didn't see what was happening until like midnight or something, or like when I got home late, like 10 or 11. So I had missed most of the real time drama of it all. Were you following it from the beginning?
Yeah, because I got that like New York Times notification, or it was like the Apple News notification. Then I immediately go to Twitter, because that's where you go, because you're getting pretty much live updates. And
yeah, that's true.
Then you see it kind of unfold step by step, and right away there was blame. And it's just like, that's immediately where people go to. I think the biggest thing that stood out to me, so obviously, we're not here to incite violence, or no one has ever said like, hey, let's organize with this 20-year-old kid to like assassinate him. The thing that I noticed is the difference between, or like, Trump's reaction. I'm sure in the moment he was just in the moment of like, holy fuck, like I almost just got shot. But it's the after, like how he handled it. I didn't see him mention anything about the guy who actually got killed. That's the thing where I'm like, this guy should be, visiting his family, donating to his family. This guy was a firefighter, I think, sole provider for he was like a retired, I don't know. But to have Trump not acknowledge someone who was going to have his vote at his rally being dead, that shows a pretty big thing about his character. It was just all about him. And it's like, yeah, I get it. Like, yeah, I almost died, but digest that and then think, holy shit, someone did die. Like, I should
Right.
acknowledge that he
Yeah.
was at my rally.
Yeah, you would think so. And I think that that just speaks to his character and kind of what just another thing to write in the file to
Yeah.
kind of just show who he is and how much he actually does care about other people, which is not
Yeah.
much.
Not much at all.
But
And I think too, I've seen Twitter is a shit show. It's not great, not great for mental health. But there's conspiracy theories on both sides. One being like that was staged, that was kind of a left conspiracy theory, and there's like the right of like it was set up. Like there's a leak in the Secret Service, they let it happen. There's definitely some weird shit about it, but like just to come out and say that right away is like this is how shit starts. This is how conspiracy theories start. We have no information yet, and we're already creating this theory. But and I even saw people complaining about this is what happens when you have women in the Secret Service, or like because they're saying that he would have been protected if he wasn't like being guarded by women, and it's a joke. And they showed like one of the Secret Service person. It was like one photo where she was like guarding him, like putting her body in front of him. But I guess her like first reaction was to kind of like hide. And so they were like, this is why women shouldn't be in the Secret Service. Blah, blah. So like it really just domino effect from Trump almost being assassinated to women shouldn't be like in these types of jobs. And then like blaming, I think the head of Secret Service is a woman. So they're asking her to resign. Just a lot of finger pointing, and not a real like, not a real much of anything besides using it as a tool for him to get reelected, because now he is this hero. And it's like, how is he necessarily a hero? I mean, he's a survivor.
yeah.
But they're all like, he got up and played golf the next morning. It's like, yeah, the guy at his rally that's dead, he did not. So cool.
Well, I also think it's very interesting because you don't have all those folks who are pro guns coming out and talking about how you know that there was a ton of guns there. There was a ton of people carrying, the good guys carrying guns, and things still happened. People still died, and guns didn't make them more safe. And I think that's just an argument that like how do you even argue that, right? On from the right, I don't really understand, but
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why they're saying it was like an inside job, because how did this 20-year-old kid, because there were people who spotted him before the Secret Service, and they were trying to tell like the cops and stuff, like, hey, there's this guy on the roof with a gun, and they just let it happen. So there's something weird, whether it's just being bad at their job, which is a possibility. I'm not sure. It still like shouldn't have happened, obviously. But to blame the left for it even occurring is like, can we not? Like it's just this 20-year-old kid who seemed to be, I don't know, like they're still trying to figure out who he was, and more about him. But
Yeah.
well, that'll keep unfolding as we go. But I think another thing is, what was I going to say? Totally lost my train of thought there. Never mind. It'll come to me later.
Okay. That's okay. Yeah, I'm just, it's interesting that it is how companies have reacted. Did you hear all the drama from that company, Sticker Mule?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I did.
if folks didn't hear, it was a very strange turn of events that after this all happened, the company named Sticker Mule, which is really like popular in social media, I get him advertisements all the time in on TikTok. Um, but they not only made a statement, but they texted it out to everybody on their email, or texted it out and emailed it out to everybody on their list. This
Yeah.
big long statement about how they're in support of Donald Trump and blah blah blah, and it's just crazy how fast everything changed for
Right.
that company.
It's like it made people feel safer to publicly acknowledge their support for him. And I don't understand that aspect of it, especially for a business, because I don't know how well it's going to go for them. Maybe they thought it was like a good business move. I'm not really sure, but I definitely saw a lot of people who generally don't talk about politics and give their support for Donald Trump after the situation. So I find that interesting for sure. Um, there was definitely some thoughts in my head of like, yeah, great, definitely he's going to get elected now because he's this assassination attempt survivor. I'm just like, someone quick and like graze Biden's ear, he won't even notice. So like, just give him a little up. It's like, you think surviving assassination is hard? Try running the country with dementia. Like, that is impressive.
Yeah, no
So,
kidding. Jesus. Oh, the state of this country. It's so hard. It's so hard.
yeah, it's great. Real great.
But I have a great segue because that I feel like the state of the world does force people to want to drink and check out a
This
little
is
bit.
true. Yes.
And we brought up the topic of alcohol and kind of just in general and how it can affect you and your health and your fitness journey and kind of your life. And so I think that was the next thing we were going to talk about today. Um, did you want to start off, Cody?
Sure. So yeah, alcohol. It's the most socially acceptable and available drug, and it blows my fucking mind more times than not. You can get it on an airplane. You can get it at the grocery store. You can get it at the gas station. And there's so many people who are struggling from being alcoholics, but yet it is still so available. And we do not do anything like that for any other sort of drug. I mean, unless you count caffeine, but like caffeine doesn't make you, doesn't mess with your head. So my camera is focusing on my microphone again. um, so it just blows my mind. It really does. It blows my mind how it's so readily available, but also how many people struggle with it. Maybe we don't even know, but also it's so socially acceptable. I think especially in the queer community, it's become more of an issue because where do you go to meet other people? Usually it's bars. You got gay bars, yeah, lesbian bars, whatever.
Pride.
Pride. It's all centered around alcohol. And I think things are starting to shift, but it's going to be a while. And it's also still very much so a thing. And I think I find it so interesting because not only does it cause so many like mental health issues, but also physically it has its impact and consequences. And we don't think about that much. And it's something that a lot of people do pretty regularly. So I'm just like, why are we like this with just alcohol? It's completely legal and available on other things like weed that, calms you down, doesn't cause any violence. No one gets violent when they're stoned. A lot less like actual effects from weed, and yet it was illegal and is still illegal in some places in this country. And I just don't understand why. I don't know why I'm going on this rant, but alcohol, man, like,
I love it.
It has its risks that we just like to sweep under the rug. And I'm done tiptoeing around, alcohol, and people are just like, lighten up, have some fun. And it's like, yeah, that's okay on occasion, but if that's the only thing that helps you relax, lighten up, and have fun, there's something else going on in your life. So yeah, I'll stop ranting. Kel, yeah. What do you think?
Sure. I have a lot of thoughts on alcohol. So I used to be a pretty heavy drinker, and there's a bit of alcoholism in my family. So it's always been something that's been in my life. People have drank my whole life in my family, and I started drinking later in life. Um, After I was 21, I started when I was kind of coming out, just kind of like what you said. It a lot of being queer and discovering yourself happened in bars. When I was younger, especially, there was like you would go to pre-party at one bar, then you'd go dance at the different bar, and that's how you met people. That's how you made community. And I do think it is changing. I'm now a little over 2 years sober from alcohol. And I think that was a really big decision in my life and a big turning point for my life. But yeah, have you ever been like a heavy drinker, Cody, or have you kind of always been able to stay away?
So, not necessarily. I grew up really religious, so I didn't even have a sip of alcohol until after I was 21. Not even like my 21st birthday. It was
Mm-hmm.
like maybe 6 months something afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which I think I had my first sip of alcohol on my honeymoon uh, as a virgin bride. But,
There we go.
anyways, we won't need to get into that. But I think the most I drank was probably like mid 20s, later 20s, where I was like on my own, uh, like had a roommate, and just that it was kind of my first sense of freedom, outside of my parents' house or anything. It's not like I ever really had the urge to go drink or anything. It just kind of happened, socially. Again, you come out, and that's kind of what you do in the community. You go to the gay bars and you go, um, you know, dancing or whatever, which I didn't really like dance. I just, maybe we would go and then walk through and leave. But yeah, just like, all right, cool, let's go because this is uncomfortable. I'm not drunk enough for this still.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, that's probably where I'd say it was the most, like when I was starting to come out and everything. I think I feel like everyone has that last story where they're thought like, "Yo, this is enough." And I think mine was I was out like boating all day. I had just kind of broken up. I've been through a breakup, got my heart broken, uh, and we were just on the boat and drinking, and no one was really paying attention to how much anyone was really drinking. But we got home, and I blacked out for like the first time after I had like a shot of Sailor Jerry's, which is disgusting, by the way. It's spiced rum, and it is not good. And I just completely like blacked out. I'd never had that experience. Um, and I know that Des like took me home and got me up into bed, but then I woke up on the bathroom floor with my pants down by my roommate trying to shove herself into the bathroom because she had to go.
Oh God.
And so that was the last straw. I was just like, yeah, we're done with this. I wasn't like,
Yeah.
yeah. So definitely cut back from there. Plus, you just like feel like shit. So even I would still have like an occasional drink from there, but it just ended up not being worth it because you just, just like one drink, I would feel it the next day. And it wasn't worth the calories. And I just didn't have a need for it anymore. I mean, I also think I recognize that I'm very socially anxious, and the only way that I'm not is if I drink, and I found it to be a little bit too dangerous. So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, we got to stop. So it's been a long time since I've had a drink.
I think Yeah, I think that's a lot of the reason I was really big into drinking was that social anxiety. Like it was the only way I could be loose enough to talk
Same.
or to do anything.
Yep.
Um but I think that's why I like loved it was because of that. And like the more I
Yeah.
lost control of the drinking, the more you could just like kind of, well, I'm drunk, so it's a good excuse to do whatever the fuck I want, and
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't really have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But I did a lot of that like cycling of I felt like shit because I drank, and then all Sunday I would feel that terrible guilt, and like you'd feel like shit because you're hungover,
Mm-hmm.
you can't really eat because you're nauseous, and or you want to eat everything, and it was just like guilt every weekend. And eventually, I just had to break the cycle, and I kind of just stopped. tried to reduce it, and I did like a reduction, and then prep happened for my first show, and you're like, you got to stop, and I'm like, deal. So I didn't drink at all during prep, and then I drank one more time afterwards, and I'm like, okay, I didn't like that person anymore. Like I don't need that. I can be in my life without drinking and survive, and it can be okay. But I think it was really that tester time of prep that almost like solidified it for me. Like, look, see, you have an excuse that you're not just being like, no, I'm just sober now. But I'm like, nope, I'm in prep, so that's why I am. And then like it forced me to kind of figure it out, and then I'm like, oh, I can maybe try it again, and I'm like, nope, not worth it. And
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think it really helped my life because I don't feel like shit anymore, and I found other ways to cope with my social anxiety, and um yeah, so it's kind of
Yeah.
been smooth sailing since then. It's been
Well, that's
nice.
great. Yeah, it's like I remember at a specific time being out. Like I think it's different or harder when you're single, maybe, because you do feel the
I think
pressure
so
to be
too.
social in order to meet that other person that you're supposedly gonna end up with, maybe.
Yeah.
So I remember times like being out and not necessarily wanting to drink because I knew the consequences of feeling like shit, but I felt like I had to in order to be social. And I like something that always sticks with me is my friend saying, "You better drink or you won't have a personality." And I was like,
Oh my god, that's so fucked up.
I know. So that stuck with me for so long. Like, where I was just like, all right, I guess I'm no one if I don't drink. I don't have a personality, so I better drink. So yeah, that was kind of the thing that got it started because I know I'm socially anxious and awkward, and it took that away. And it
Hmm.
sucks that the things that work are bad for you. I feel like it's this
Yeah.
awful. Like, if there is a God, we need to have a discussion. Like, I want to talk to the manager because that's just evil.
Yeah, and it is really hard, and I like because when you're single and when you're trying to meet people, everybody wants to do like dates and stuff like that, and it's really hard to think of. You have to be really creative to think of dates that don't involve drinking in some way.
Yeah.
I feel like, because I feel like almost any adult activity is centered around it, and I do think
Yeah.
that's changing. But I started dating Maddie during prep, and so like I got really creative with dates. I remember it was so freaking hard to figure out things because you also want it to be in public because you don't want to creep the person out, and you're like, what do you do in public? Like, that's not drinking, and I couldn't eat anything, so it was such a mess. But you
Yeah.
can do it. I am a testament to that effect that you can do it.
Well, I mean,
Um,
plus
what
it probably helped like her know what she was getting into.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Do you have any kind of like tips to make that transition? Like, is there anything that you found specifically helpful for you when you were trying to be like social without drinking?
Yeah. So I would say like number one thing would be support because it's really hard to quit if everyone around you is still drinking or pressuring you into drinking. Especially, it's going to be hard if you lose some friendships. It's something that unfortunately does happen because you might find that the only thing you have in common with friends is that you would go out drinking. And if that's the only thing you did together, chances
Yeah.
are, the relationship's not going to last unless you grow together and you take that step together and you find other things you have in common, or you start hiking instead of drinking, something like that. Not quite as fun, I guess, it can be, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it takes support, and even if it's a friend or partner who's not necessarily sober but supportive of you stopping drinking, someone to also keep you accountable with it. Therapist also very, very good idea, especially if you're at the point where you're like, okay, I think I actually like have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's definitely more support needed there. But if you're just someone looking to quit because you want to make progress with your fitness goals, or you don't like how it makes you feel, or you don't like the person you are when you're drinking, yeah, definitely some sort of support network is going to be very helpful.
Yeah, I think support is always going to be really, really important. I know one way that I quote unquote sold it when I first went sober to people was I'm like, well, I can be your DD all the time. And sometimes that was enough to get some people behind it, even if that's all what it takes. But usually people are, if they love you, are tend to be very supportive and want to help you. Some other tips that I kind of liked was that no, you don't owe anybody a reason for being sober or for changing your drinking habits. So you always can, but it's also that your story to tell. So if you don't want to tell someone, that's fine. You don't have to. I, for a long time, would just put drinks in koozies or pour them in a cup, make it look like a drink so no one would even ask me. You can also use excuses if you want to just not get into it. Say that you have a medication that you're working with that you're trying to stay off alcohol for, or something along those lines. These kind of I would use as like just tools in the toolbox in case like if like a coworker asked why I wasn't drinking, I'd be like, oh, I just am on a medication or something, or you can make up something so you don't have to go into it. So those are kind of the tricks that I really liked. That helped.
Yeah, I always like
also
to break
the
the
mocktails
ice.
and stuff are fun.
Yes, those. I mean, plus you don't have to feel like shit after those. But I always break the ice by just being like, when they ask me why I'm not drinking, I'm just like, I'm pregnant. So, and that always works. And then I'm like, yeah, I'll just get this awkwardness out of the way. So I don't need alcohol. You already think I'm a fucking weirdo. Cool, mission accomplished. But yeah, so
that. Rip the Band-Aid right off.
Yeah, right off.
And usually, if you're out at a bar and you want to not drink, bartenders are pretty cool about it. If you're like, can you just put it in a short glass or something? They're usually definitely cool with things.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other tips. I mean, you gave the mocktails. If you're looking for like, if you actually like the taste of alcohol and you want some creative drink recipes or whatever, mocktails are great. I know that there's becoming more popular, even at bars and restaurants, creating alternatives for people, which is great. I personally am like, nah, man, I only drink to get fucked up and I don't want the sugar. So I'll pass, but thank you.
Yeah, I like to have them every once in a while, especially if like it's like a date night and we're going out or something. It's fun to switch them up. The one thing that I do caution people is that those do have calories. So just because they're alcohol free doesn't mean they're gonna be calorie free. So do watch out. Mixers, syrups, and all that can really pack a big punch calorically.
There is a pretty good mocktail though that is calorie free, and it's a Diet and Jack sans Jack. You just you got your Diet Coke. It's the best mocktail. It's the easiest one.
The best mocktail.
Yeah, really straightforward. Just go right from the can.
Right from the can or the soda stream. I love it.
Yes. But yeah. So trying to think, I can't think of any other like tips. I think it's just one of those things where you have to decide, what's best for you and make those steps moving forward and not being afraid of like failure or falling off or that sort of thing, because it's going to happen. I mean, it doesn't, not everyone. I don't know if you had, I mean, you said you had a drink after prep and you kind of realize like, oh, I don't actually want this.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
there's a time where people start to think maybe I can just have a very occasional, have more moderate drinking situations, and they either figure they can or they figure they can't. But I
Mhm.
would just say I think a lot of people are afraid to cut back because of the situations of, oh, I might lose friends, I might feel left out, I might feel like the oddball out, or I might fail. And those are all legitimate fears, but it's still worth, trying it out to see if it's something that benefits you. No.
Yeah, and I think there is something to be said with moderation. I think cutting back on drinking is a really good first step, even if you are just curious about sober curious. I think that's a big buzzword going around right now. But you can always start small. Like, say, I'm not going to try it for a month and see how long you make it. Um, you can cut back without having to cut out and just give it a try. I think doing anything to just try it out for the good of your health is something that's worth it. So I think if you haven't tried, it might be something to think about.
Hmm. Should I go over some of like the health repercussions of drinking alcohol? Just in case anyone needs any more motivation
Yeah,
to quit.
sure.
So
Let's do it.
I pulled up a study so we can specifically cover the potential cancer risks. Obviously, there's more that alcohol can induce, but so I found a study that was studying the association between different levels of alcohol intake and the risk of cancer. All cancers and esophageal cancer, stomach, liver, pancreatic, colorectal, ling- your yeah, that thing, lung,
Laryngeal.
thyroid, prostate, and breast cancer. So who was studied? It was men and women living in America, Asia, Europe, or Australia. And I'll just read it, all the how it was studied. So it was a meta-analysis of 106 prospective cohort studies was performed. The researchers examined cancer risk according to alcohol consumption levels. Alcohol consumption was categorized into 4 levels. So we had light, which was like 1 to 12.4 grams a day, approximately 1 drink. Light moderate, so 12.5 to 24.9 grams a day. Moderate, 25 to 49.9 grams a day. And heavy, greater than 50 grams a day. So, what were the results? So, all cancer types, light alcohol consumption was not associated with all cancer risk, but light, moderate, heavy, and heavy alcohol consumption were associated with 8%, 19%, and 39% higher risks of all cancer, respectively. So, it kind of goes through all the different cancers and what has the highest risk. So, something like esophageal cancer. So, light to moderate or moderate heavy and heavy alcohol consumption was associated with 39%, 83%, 168%, and 312% higher risk of cancer in that situation. So that's pretty significant. So stomach cancer risk, so moderate and heavy alcohol consumption were associated with 20%, 22% higher risks of stomach cancer. Basically, all cancers are associated with moderate to heavy alcohol consumption. The risk is always up with that. So it's like
Yeah.
all cancer, you have a higher risk if you're moderately to high drinking. So drinking on the lighter end, not as big of an impact. It does still have some, especially pertaining to breast cancer. So even with light drinking, light to moderate, it was associated with 5% or 5%, 12%, 23%, and 35% higher risk of breast cancer, respectively. So even at the light end of drinking, you do pose more risk for cancer. And of course, there's all the other things. Alcoholism is its own beast, and liver disease. And yeah, so just another little reminder that it does have impacts on your health. I'm sure there's studies to be done on your brain as well, but I did not look that up. But that's something for another day.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's not even the talking about the lower impact things, quote unquote, of just if you're trying to chase some fitness goals or health goals. Um,
No.
Alcohol is its own macro. It is with calories assigned to it. I
Yeah.
believe it's 7 grams or
Yeah.
7 calories per gram of alcohol.
Mhm.
But it's definitely something that can lead people astray pretty quickly. So if you're noticing like a plateau that you just can't seem to break through, and you are drinking, maybe something to think about.
Yeah. I've not seen one thing affect someone's fitness results more than alcohol because it's got a lot of calories in it, but you don't make good decisions when you're buzzed or anything. So it goes from drinking your calories, way too many, to eating like shit because it's like 2
Yeah,
a.m. and the only place open is In and Out, you know? So uh, it's a domino effect, like we say. So if you want to reach your goals, you got to think
slippery slope.
about that alcohol consumption for sure.
Absolutely. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about with alcohol, or should we move into a power talk?
I think we're ready for the power talk.
Awesome. All right. So today I have a quick and easy one for us, just to get back into the swing of things. Either you run the day or the day runs you. A nice classic from Jim Rohn. I just really like this one because it is all about setting yourself up for success and starting the day on your terms, and kind of maintaining those boundaries to keep in control of the day. I think sometimes people let the events of a day kind of dictate what they're going to do in the evening. So are they going to make, if it was a really stressful day at work, are they going to make good choices at night, or are they going to go to a happy hour with their coworkers? That can be a big decision that you can make. And I just suggest that you remember why you started and kind of where you want to go. You are the one deciding their future currently based on your actions. So
Yeah,
just another little reminder for that.
yeah, I like it. Cool. Well,
Awesome.
are we ready to
Till
wrap up
next
this
time.
episode?
Yeah, I think so. Talk to you all next week.
All right. Peace, guys. We'll talk to you next time.